Yet it's beneficial to look at it and to notice what if, when we get done with that new shiny object mode of operation, when we start to get tired of that, when we start to feel like there's more and we're missing out on that more, when we begin to realize that all of this accumulation of, whether it's knowledge or things or whatever, all of this accumulation of new stuff is unfulfilling, then at that point we start to think about something bigger, something greater. And we know inherently, soul still knows, soul's still aware of its original purpose. It's it's buried under mountains of experiences. It's buried under mountains of cause and effect. It's buried under oceans of just this dross that has shaped and clouded our view of this life. And yet, it's still there. It's still there. Soul is still knows that its purpose is to experience its whole self and to ultimately become its whole self within the experience. And so we begin to, in this moment of awareness, of recognition, we begin to seek the truth, the real truth, the whole truth, the absolute truth. So we start that process of seeking the truth, and it goes from just this random sort of newest distraction to an active seeking of truth. First, outside ourselves. First, we think that we can find truth out here. But in the end, which is not really the end, but the end of that seeking process, that outward seeking process, we realize that truth, absolute truth, is not contained within this outer universe. It's just not. Yet we know that it exists. And if it doesn't exist out here, then the only alternative is that it exists in here. That somewhere inside me there is this truth. That somewhere inside me there is this source can be found. And so we begin the journey inward. And we discover that there's these oceans and mountains of stuff that we have to get through to discover the truth. So we begin to peel away layers. But those layers there's just a lot more layers than we could ever imagine, because we don't realize how many lifetimes we've been doing this. We don't realize how long we've been at this. most of us imagine that, as we begin this process, this journey inward, we at least realize that this isn't our first go-round, that we've lived multiple lives, but most people have no idea of the vastness of that. Most of us don't realize that to say that we've lived dozens or hundreds of lives doesn't even touch it. To say that we've lived thousands of lives doesn't even touch it. We came from beyond space and before time. This process of exploring the various aspects of who I am, it's nearly infinite. And if you've come to this place of readiness to look within, it means you've been out here for a long, long time. If you're watching this, if you're reading this, you've been at this game for a long time. Not just a few lifetimes. A long time. Because it takes a lot of lifetimes to explore all of it. Literally millions of different types of beings. Millions of different species that we have been. Before we even became human. And then likely thousands of human lifetimes, if not millions. Because as humans, we push the envelope of this outer universe. We push the envelope. We push it to its limits. That's the purpose of the human experience, is to push the physical, emotional, mental, causal planes to their limits. To explore it all. And to realize in that exploration that no matter, just like I said last time, no matter how much information, no matter how many experiences, it's not the whole thing. There's still more to it. There's still more to it because I am the experiencer. I am that which experiences, not the experience. I am soul. I am that which is experiencing all of this. All of this that's on the outside and all of this that's on the inside. That's who I am. That's what I'm seeking. I'm seeking that truth of who I really am. That's it. But I have to get through all of these layers that I've piled on through eons and eons of time and millions and millions of lifetimes. I have added on all of these experiences and all of these causes and effects that color my perspective. And the process of of accessing, of realizing the truth of who I am it's a peeling away of layers, but it's less a peeling away than it is a seeing through. It's a seeing through the layers. So I have to see through those filters. And until I have reached that moment of being able to see through it, to see through the illusion, it's going to remain. And so each of those layers, I have to go through the process of looking at it, seeing it for what it is, seeing through it to what's underneath. And with each layer, more of what's underneath begins to show through. More of what's inside begins to emerge, begins to shine that light into this experience. And so that's the journey. That's the journey that I'm on. That's the journey that we're all on. Where we are in that process, where we are on our own path, everybody's different. What your experience of it is versus mine, that's a different experience, but it's the same journey. That's why I said it's all the same truth. It's just that we're approaching it, we're looking at it, we're viewing it from all the infinite different perspectives. My path through this life has been one that's taken all kinds of twists and turns. And those twists and turns are different from the twists and turns that somebody else has taken. Ultimately, we end up in the same place. We end up in oneness. But the process of getting there is different. It's different for each of us. And so it's only, I can't follow somebody else's path. That somebody else can point me in a direction that says, this is where you need to look, because this is where your truth actually exists. And I have a teacher that's helped me with that continues to guide me with that. But ultimately, I have to walk that path. I have to find my way. I have to be the one that sees through all of the stuff that I've piled on. And it's all that stuff that's keeping me from seeing the whole truth. As I see through layer after layer after layer after layer, I begin to see more of what is real. I begin to see more of the truth. And that truth, as I'm giving my attention, which is my power, to that truth, which is who I am, that truth, who I am, emerges. Get it? Does that make sense? I'm trying to relate this as simply and as comprehensively as I can, and hopefully it's not, putting you to sleep. I hope it's not boring you, but it's all of this is designed to expand your vision. I'm trying to express what I see, which is a vastly expanded vision that I saw just a short while back in my life. And my hope is that you'll just look inside and see what you see. Maybe it's not going to look the same as what I see, but maybe if you begin to explore and look at what's underneath, what's inside, that'll start to emerge. And in that process, your life will change. And if you like your life the way it is, then stay with what you're doing. If you're here, I imagine that you are feeling like there's more to it than what you can see from your current perspective. And if that's true, just look within. And once again, start to live your life, or continue to live your life, from the inside out. See you next week.